Hey, what's up everyone? In today's video, we're going to install some rear sets on the SR250. So in the last video you probably saw that I got the rear sets, which I got from Dime City Cycles, and I prepped part of the frame where we're going to be mounting those rear sets at. Before we can actually mount them to the bike though, we got to get a couple different parts out of the way. Keep in mind that this process is going to be different for every single build. In my case, I just had to remove the brake pedal and all the linkage for that, and the clutch lever. Okay, so I don't really know how I'm just now seeing this or how I ever missed it in the first place, but there's this huge dent on the front part of my frame on the main tube that runs down and holds the engine. I don't know how long it's been there. I don't even know when it happened. It could have been there when I got the bike initially and I just kind of overlooked it. But the muffler rests right against it, and that makes me think that maybe the muffler that was on it wasn't the right one or something, but either way, the dent is probably not a good thing, and it probably needs to be taken care of. It definitely needs to be taken care of. But I don't really know how to do that. I don't have a welder myself and all this stuff, so we'll figure that out. But in the meantime, we're going to continue with mounting on the rear sets. So what I've done is I used the white marker to color in the area of the frame where I plan to mount the rear sets at. I only did that so that I could see my measurements that I take a little bit easier. From that point, once the measurements were made, I just got my drill out and got to work. So in my last video, you saw that I received the rear sets and I assembled one of them, but they still need to be mounted to the bike. It's a little tricky because each rear set has a bit of a curve to it, and you want to make sure that it's pointing the right direction so that it mounts on the bike right. There's instructions in the box from Dime City, but it's really simple. You can kind of tell whatever side that everything mounts in on, you want it to point out. So as long as the curve faces towards the bike and turns back in, you're good to go. So we'll put this other rear set together and then we'll get them all mounted onto the bike. Another easy way to tell which way they're supposed to face, just if you lost your instructions or anything like that, is that the little point where the screw goes in to hold the toe peg, it's going to be inset a little bit so it countersinks and doesn't stick out. That way you know that the peg itself will point the other direction, and that gives you the idea that it should go on the left or right side. As I mentioned before, I got these rear sets from Dime City Cycles. And I'm not really sure on what the model name is that they are, but they're the Dime City Originals or whatever their brand is. If you're interested in that, I'll be sure to link it down below. Anyway, the pair that I got came with some linkage pieces, so let's go ahead and take a look at those. Now most universal parts aren't actually universal. There's always some sort of work you gotta do to make it fit your specific build. Now with these rear sets that I got, they came with some linkage like I said, and hopefully that's enough linkage to get the job done and I won't have to make a hardware store run or anything like that to get something else that I may need. So now that the rear sets are mounted on the bike, this is actually going to start serving as the brake pedal, and on the other side it's going to be your clutch. So right now we're working on the brake side, and what we want to do is link this up with all the linkage that activates the brake in the back and just try to get that to work. So we're going to play around with it and see what happens. So after a little bit of time of messing around with the linkage and seeing how everything works, I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to need to modify my brake pedal and my clutch lever just to make everything operate and function right. So here in the next few shots, you're going to see me making all the cuts and modifications that I need to do, and rather than explain it, I'll just show you. Now I'll be the first to admit that doing it this way is not the prettiest, and I'm sure that I can take some time and make it look a little bit better and work on those hard edges a little bit, things like that, and I probably will. But the goal today is to just get it on and working and see how it all goes together. So we're going to keep at it, and who knows, maybe in the future I can either teach myself or find someone who knows how to CNC stuff and I can make some custom mounts for these, and I won't have to be using these modified stock pieces. But that's in the future. But until then, this idea should work. So let's get it all mounted on the bike and see if everything's working properly. Well, everything's mounted and everything works, and I'm feeling super stoked about it. The rear sets are on, they function, they look great, and that just means that I'm so much closer to getting this build actually finished. So the SR is well on its way to being finished. We're still waiting on a few different parts to come in the mail, but we're super close to having it all done. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, that way you don't miss out on any of the progress. And I know a lot of you are still new here, so welcome again. Here's a couple other videos I think you might want to check out while you're here. And as always, thanks for watching. Later. So I think that the dent on the frame that I found where the exhaust goes is kind of supposed to be there. It doesn't really look like it was damaged and made that way or anything like that. So, I don't know. Is it weird? Should it be like that? If you know, let me know.